Welcome to the Spotlight video for the new Fluid Faculty Center Enhancement. I'm Kevin O'Connor, Senior Principal Product Manager for Oracle Higher Education Development. Today, we are announcing that we are delivering the new Fluid Faculty Center in PUM Image 32. What are we delivering in this new Fluid enhancement? Well, the following are the pieces that we're delivering, and I'll be drilling into the detail for each feature during this presentation. The Faculty Center homepage, Faculty Center tile, View My Schedule page, Class Roster page, Grade Roster page, and the Fluid Faculty Center setup page. We're delivering the large form factor format for this Fluid Faculty Center enhancement. When a faculty member logs in, they will land on the new Faculty Center homepage. We're delivering this new homepage along with a new Faculty Center tile. I'm going to go ahead and click on the new Faculty Center tile, and this will take me directly to the Fluid Faculty Center. I have landed on the View My Schedule page for the faculty member. So let's go ahead and take a look at the various features that we are delivering. Upon entering this page, you'll notice that there are three menu items in the navigation collection: View My Schedule, Class Roster, and Grade Roster. Let's examine the View My Schedule page features. A term list will be presented to the faculty member. Any term where the instructor is assigned to a class section will be available to click on or review from this view. For this demo, I'm going to select the Fall 2024 term, and the instructor's schedule will now appear in the active window for that term. There are several actions that you can take on this page, so let's go ahead and take a look. You can change the term by clicking on the Change Term button, which will pop up a window, and then this faculty member can select any past or any future term where they are assigned to a class section. The instructor schedule is viewable by class or by date. But let's go ahead and look at the by class page. On this page, I can collapse my teaching schedule. I can open individual sections teaching schedule. But let's go ahead and close that and open the entire schedule so we can look at all the details. Each class section in this view has three links available: the class roster, grade roster, or exam schedule. Each link will only be active or clickable if there's a class roster, a grade roster, or an exam schedule that is active for that specific section. If the hyperlink is grayed out, like in this example, the exam schedule is grayed out, a message will appear to inform the instructor that, in this case, the exam schedule is not available for this class. There are two checkboxes at the top of the page that enable the faculty member to change the view. The first one is Show All Classes, and the second one is Show Classes with Enrolled Students. In this case, that's what I've selected. And so now we'll go ahead and drill on a few of the other features. The schedule is printable by clicking on the Printable Page button right here. So that will pop up a window, and then the instructor can go ahead and print that schedule for themselves. Class details are available by clicking on any active section that they're assigned to. That will produce a pop-up window, and all the class information is contained within this pop-up. Class details, meeting information, enrollment information, class availability, and textbook or other materials information. Let's go ahead and click on the By Date tab. So on this particular tab, there are two views. There's the list view and the calendar view. In the list view, all of this sections that an instructor is assigned to will appear row by date. And the date range is determined right here from the from and the to fields. So the instructor can control exactly what they see and how far out they would like to look at their class sections. Faculty member, again, can click on each individual row for details about that class, the same pop-up that we saw a few moments ago. Of course, this page is printable as well. Under the calendar view tab, the instructor will see their schedule in a calendar grid. And again, they can control which week that they would like to look at, and of course, the start and end times. Each individual section is highlighted in a grid, and it's clickable as well. And of course, the same pop-up is available from this view as well. Let's go ahead and navigate back to by class. And let's go ahead and review the class roster for History 120. So I can either click on the class roster menu item on the left, or I can use the direct link right here within this particular class section, and it will take me directly to this class roster. So now we have landed on the new class roster page for History 120, and I'll go through each feature that we're delivering for the class roster. The faculty member can, again, change the term, but let's look more directly at the features within the class roster itself. The faculty member can change the class that they're working on by clicking on this button, which will pop up a pop-up window, and they will be able to select another class roster for them to review and to work on. The View FERPA statement link is here. It's fully configurable, and this is where the placement of that link will exist. The hyperlink right here will pull up, again, that same pop-up window that we saw earlier. And the only difference is that it takes them directly to the meeting information for this particular class, including the meeting dates, as well as the exam schedule for this particular class section. Let's take a look at the student list for a few moments, and then we'll come back and look at these two buttons right here in this section. So in the student list, if I go ahead and click on any of the students in the list, a pop-up window will appear with all of the students' information, including a configurable preferred pronouns field. So in addition to all the details you can see on this pop-up window, we've added the ability for the campus to display or not display the preferred pronouns for a student. And that field exists right here. The student's photo will also appear on this page if one is available. Directly above the class roster list are filters to determine who will appear in the list. Enrolled students, waitlisted students, or drop students, or a combination, one, two, or all three of these can be checked at the same time. Directly above the filter checkboxes are two buttons that will now allow your faculty to access key information about their class without having to navigate to another page in the system. This is a brand new feature that we are rolling out in this enhancement. The first button is a direct embedded link to the class permission numbers. Add and drop permissions for this class. So when I click on this, this will take me to the embedded class permissions for History 120, section 1042. And based on your security setup, which we'll look at later, an instructor or an administrator can produce permission numbers for the class or not. So based on security, you'll be able to control what an instructor can do or not do in regards to some of this embedded functionality. In this case, I have access on, so you can see all the features. I can assign more permission numbers. I can control what those permission numbers are valid for. Even on an individual basis, I can go in and determine what they're valid for. Of course, all of the same functionality still exists that exists on the original admin page for class permissions. The second button is Show Attendance Roster. We know that not all campuses do attendance tracking, so we have given you full control over whether this button appears or not appears on this page, and the same goes for class permissions. We also provided full security access to this button as well as the permissions button. In addition to the security control, an instructor can go ahead and review an action or take an action based on security and either view the attendance roster, do the attendance tracking, save it, and right within the class roster now, the instructor or teaching assistant has access to track in attendance if you choose to do so. Can navigate to next attendance date. So the attendance dates will come in order, or the instructor can look at all the attendance templates in one view. In addition to those two buttons, we've embedded the ability to notify selected students. So I can go ahead and check all those students, and it will pop up the embedded workflow, the notification workflow for this particular class section, and the students will be notified directly from the instructor. Of course, this page can be printed. So the entire class roster can be printed along with the meeting times and details. Next to the printable page button is a really key feature that we've added to this enhancement, is a direct link from the class roster to the grade roster for this class. So now there's a closed loop between the class roster and grade roster, so I can go back and forth as an instructor without having to click in various points. The grade roster has a similar design to the class roster page, but with multiple differences. The page is separated into 3 sections. The top section has some familiar buttons, including change class, change term, printable page, and as well as that direct link back to the class roster, and a save button for making any changes to the grade roster. The second section are really the grade roster controls, including the grade roster type, final grade, midterm grade, and the approval status, as well as being able to notify students, just like what we saw a second ago in the class roster. The faculty member can also use this filter right here to display only students who have been unassigned a grade. In this case, we only have a few students in the class, but if there were hundreds of students and there were 20 unassigned, you could simply quickly display all unassigned students. Of course, the bottom section is for the faculty to actually grade the students. They can use this dropdown, and of course, it'll pull in the grading basis for the class, and they can go ahead and grade the students. Let's do that now. And based on the setup in the class schedule, the faculty member who's doing this grading has access for approval status. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and click approved. Now you'll notice that another button has popped up, and it's the post button, okay? So I can save my entries, and I can go ahead and post the grades directly from here or right below the grade roster as well. In addition to the grading side, I can go ahead and add a transcript note, which is optional, to any individual student by just clicking on the note hyperlink and add that transcript note. And if there's a requirement designation for the class, A third tab will appear to enable the selection of the requirement designation status. Let's go ahead and click back on the student grade. And now that we've seen the grade roster, class roster, and view my schedule, let's go ahead and look at the new Fluid Faculty Center setup page so we can see exactly how all of this is controlled at a configurability level. So we're going to navigate to Setup SACR, Common Definitions, Self-Service, Fluid Configuration, Faculty Center, and the Faculty Center setup. So the Faculty Center setup page will enable your campus to control what shows or what doesn't show in the new Fluid Faculty Center. In this first section, which is View My Schedule option, if this is checked on, any conflicts in the instructor or faculty member schedule will show as a conflict in the view. Under the class roster options, earlier, as you remember, we saw two buttons, the class permissions button and the class attendance roster button. Those buttons and what they can do or see are all controlled right here. So in this example, I've enabled both the class permissions and the attendance roster. And let's look to see the type of access that the instructors can have and you can set up. The first is update access. So I can, as an instructor, blanket, all my instructors can update class permissions. Or I could change that to display only, and they will only see the information and cannot do any changes to that information. Now, we've brought that even down lower to let's control access by instructor role. So if you notice, when I selected instructor role, a new section has popped up, class permission access by instructor role. Now, based on the instructor roles at which we deliver, primary, secondary, teaching assistant, you can now control at more of a granular level what each particular role can do. So for a primary instructor, you may give them update access, but for secondary, it could be display only, and a teaching assistant could be display only, or whatever you choose to set up at this point. The same access goes for the class attendance roster by instructor, display, or update access. In the next section is display pronouns. If your campus chooses to display pronouns, go ahead and select that on. And you can actually override what those particular labels say, whether you want the label just to say pronouns. In this case, if you noticed earlier, I put an override and put in a message catalog entry for preferred pronouns. So that's what the instructors will see on that pop-up within the class roster. The next section here is View My Schedule and Rosters Meeting option. This determines how many meeting times and days appear by default on the class roster page. Now this number right here control anywhere from 1 to 10. If you go to 0 or above 10, you'll get an error message, but you can display 1 to 10 rows. And now you can control the message that's displayed to the instructor. In this case, if you display 3 and there are 5 meeting days and times, the message will say more meeting days and times available. A hyperlink will allow them to expand. Message to return to maximum, display less meeting days and times. This is fully configurable. You control the message and how many rows display. The next section is a class information option. You can display the textbook summary or not in the class details pop-up. The last section is very simple and it matches what the students see on their side. This determines what you see in the link to the class detail information. So you'll see the class component, whether it's a lecture, the class number. If you prefer to put in the class number, you can. This is fully controllable by you and configurable so that in this case, component and then the class number. So it's very straightforward and easy to understand. That concludes the spotlight video for the new Fluid Faculty Center enhancement that is delivered in PUM image 32.
Let me wrap up by including a list of useful resources for Campus Solutions customers. My Oracle support is certainly the primary site for official information. The PeopleSoft Information Portal is my go-to site for almost anything I need related to Campus Solutions. For interacting with Oracle and your peers, the Oracle Community site is ideal and supports the Ideas Lab site, where all your enhancement requests are logged and voted upon. If you're a Hug member, then you know the value of that community and its extensive file libraries. Finally, if you're working with a cloud product like Student Financial Planning, you'll want to bookmark Cloud Customer Connection.
Thank you and have a great day.